So welcome to everyone. Well done on having made time in, I guess, a busy schedule like everyone to attend today's IAPC&M CPD Building Masterclass. My name is Julie Kennedy. I am your host from, as I've just said, an extremely suddenly hot the Netherlands, which is why I look very flushed, but I shall enjoy it while it lasts. Today, we have a queen on the hot seat, Ruby McGuire, business mastery and mindset queen, trainer, speaker, author, coach, and mentor, who has been running her fabulous Rock Your Fabulous business for 12 years now to much acclaim. Now, a less known fact about Ruby, which had me quite intrigued, is she was once held hostage in a surgery. So maybe we'll get round to that in a minute. First, some housekeeping. Our call today will be a maximum of 1 hour, including 15 minutes Q&A, which we will take at the end. The session is recorded, so please mute yourself, but keep your video on so the speaker can see they're not talking to themselves. One idea could be to actually use the chat box for your questions, post them there as we're going along. Like that, you don't need to rack your brain at the end for what was the brilliant question you wanted to ask. So we have a really good topic today because there's a lot of talk about social media and how to get out there, but are we doing it right? So topic today is supercharge your blog posts. So I hope you have your CPD pad ready and your pen because you are going to need them. And over to you, Ruby.
So it's lovely to be here. I'm just going to get my screen set up so that I can share with you. So let me know when you can see Supercharge your blog on the screen. Brilliant.
Perfect.
Okay. So I will start with the doctor's surgery. So yes, it is true. I was held hostage in doctor's surgery going way, way back. I was a medical receptionist and two of us, myself and another lady, were at the surgery. And a guy came in who was having a psychotic episode, and he took over the phone lines and was trying to take drugs because you had drugs on the premises back then. Not showing my age much here. But thankfully we had a second phone line that he didn't know about, and I phoned the police and we got it sorted. But it just makes for an interesting story. I was quite brave.
Sure does.
Such a young girl at the time. I was actually quite brave. I just wouldn't let him go anywhere in the building. So quite a proud moment when I was so young.
Well done, and certainly a good story.
Brilliant. So welcome everyone. I'm going to be sharing with you about supercharging your blog posts. You've heard all of the thing around my business, but I'm also focusing now on Zentangle. So if you've never heard of it, check it out. I ran a session for the International Coaching Week, and it's all about mindful art, and it's a way to calm your mind down. So do check it out because it is a really lovely thing to do, especially when you're on your own business. So what we're going to cover is what your why of blogging and why you blog. We may or may not do a review, but I will get you to think about doing a review. I've got some things that I can share with you. Content creation, we're going to go through some ideas around content creation, how to come up with ideas. We'll talk about a good blog post breakdown and useful tips. And one of the things I want to say actually is people sometimes see blogging as old school. It's kind of retro, and we don't do that anymore. It's a bit dated. Most of my high-end clients come from me writing blog posts. I just want to put that out there because people aren't using it as much, but actually it's where I get most of my clients from. So don't discount it. If you enjoy writing, there's lots of reasons why you might want to do it. So why blogging? Well, you need to know your why. What do you want to achieve with it? So for me, when I started blogging, it was I wanted to get my message out to the world. Bearing in mind, I've been in business 12 years. So I wanted to share my ideas with people. I've always been a bit of a writer, pen and paper kind of girl anyway. So it was kind of a natural progression for me. But also it's about getting clients. Let's keep it real. It's about getting those clients. So there's reasons, you're going to drive traffic to your website. You will start to gain clarity around your message. The more you write, the more engagement you get with people, the more you'll understand who you are, what you offer, and how you help. It can also build credibility. So I've had a lot of speaking gigs and engagement, speaking engagements, guest posts, all of those kind of things as a result of blogging. This isn't me telling you this so it's like, oh, amazing Ruby. This is me telling you this because it is an avenue that you can pursue that can really help you grow your business. But it's kind of, oh, everyone wants video. To me, if somebody sends me a video, and I get friends who will send me videos, it's like, I just have not got the time for that. I just want to skim an article. I want to skim read it. I'll get the titles. I get what I want from it. And then I can go back in and read it later. I'm a reader as well. That helps. But there are other ways that you can use your blog too. So we'll come on to that too, as well. But it also hones your thoughts. So the more you write, the more comfortable you get with your message, and the more you start to get clarity around your thoughts. And that really helps you in your business. And it will help you with newsletters and other things that you're writing, like social media posts. It's all developing your writing skills, essentially. But you need to know your why. And honestly, if you don't find it fun and it's a chore, don't do it. And we'll come on to that in a moment. There are other things that you can do besides the writing. But really, if you hate writing, just don't do it this way. But what you could do is use your blog as a platform. So you could put things on like vlogs. I always call them video logs. And my daughter, who's 24, always says, oh, mum, they're called vlogs. So, you can have guest bloggers. It doesn't always have to be you. It could be that you share articles from other people, things that you're interested in, and you just put your little slant on it. You could do mini videos, you could do mini trainings. There's other ways that you can use your blog. It doesn't always have to be that you are writing an article. I've got a client I've been working with for years, and she really didn't like writing that much. She knew she wanted to do blog posts, but she wasn't that keen on writing that much. And then she started to do it, and a little bit more, a little bit more. And eventually she's now written a book, and she's, I think, contemplating doing a second book, and she's writing blog posts and newsletters and all of those kind of things. So you might think you don't like writing, but as you get into it and as you develop strategies and you clarify your thinking, it actually can become easier. But what you want to do is think about, what are your reasons for writing? So know your why. Who are you writing for? And start to think about some of the planning behind it as well. So, how many times a week do you want to write? And be honest about this, because, and I say a week, I meant a month, sorry. Everyone's going, a week? How many times have I got to do it a week? But be honest about how much commitment you're willing to give to writing. One of the best things I did is a program. I think you pay for it now. I think it was free. It was free at the time. And it's by Sarah and Kevin Arrow. And they did a 30-day blogging challenge. And you had to write blog posts for 30 days. It was an absolute killer. But it really was brilliant. So then any time in my head I was like, oh, I've got to write a blog post, it's like, that's easy. I did 30, So all of a sudden your parameters have actually changed as a result of doing it. So check them out. They may still run it. I don't know. But even if not, challenge yourself to write for 30 days and see what you think. So you need the right content. So I'm going to make the assumption here that a majority of you on the call are coaches. Let me know in the chat if you're not. But you want to create content to inspire, to engage, to educate, all of the things that we know. But I use this hub with all of my clients. So that symbol on the right is a pulse sign. And when you're writing, you can write for anyone. So you could write anything about coaching for anyone. Okay. Anyone with a pulse. However, that is not going to get you to the right people. You're not going to I don't call them ideal clients. I call them dreamy clients. You're not going to get in front of your dreamy clients unless you have a message that matches what they need. It sounds obvious, but if you're doing something generic, you're saying, for example, if you've got a sore knee and you go to the doctor, you want somebody who specializes in orthopedics to check your knee rather than a generic person who's just saying, well, here's some paracetamol. Using an example, you want people to relate to your message. So number one is you know what you're passionate about, and you are able to write with passion. So that's really important. This is about content and business, both these things, and you've got the skill set to match it. So that's your number one. Number two, you know who your dreamies are. So you've all probably done the ideal client avatar, and that's fine. The missing piece that a lot of people don't talk about is the emotional connection. So they'll talk about pain points and all of those kind of things. But what you need is your dreamy client to recognize themselves in what you're writing. I can't tell you the hundreds of emails I've had over the years where I've written a newsletter and people say, oh my goodness, that really just hit the spot. That's exactly what I needed to hear today. That's really helped me in my business. And that's just through writing. And it's because I know them inside out. And over the years, I've honed what are their main issues. So I know that they struggle with overwhelm. I know what they're telling themselves. So it's the emotional connections, things like, I'm not good enough to put myself out there. I'm terrified of being visible. I don't want to do blogging. It scares the life out of me. All of these different things. So these are what my dream is. I know what they do. That's one thing, but you need to have that emotional connection. The third one is you need to know what you're offering. So obviously when you're writing your blog posts, you want to be thinking about, well, where does this blog post lead to? So you want it to not just be a blog post that's nice and goes out there. You want it to have something extra, the next level. What's the next thing you're taking them to? It may be the next thing you're taking them to is another piece of education. So for them to work with you, you may need to educate them and take them on a bit of a journey to get them to understand that they need your support. Okay. They may be further advanced than that. So again, your message might be that you're leading them into something free or into something that you're selling. So always be thinking, what is it that you're offering? Even if that offer is something free, you still want to have that as part of the mix with your blog post. And number four is really where your message then comes in. So a lot of people, when they start and in business and even just with the writing as well, because this applies to both, they'll do 1, 2, and 3. They need 1, 2, and 3, but they go straight into number 5. So number 5 is tribe, and that's how you're getting to the people. So are you sharing on social media? Where are your people hanging out? Where are your tribe of people hanging out? And the trouble is, what happens is, I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. Coaches will come out of coaching school, if you like, do their training, and then they go straight onto social media because they've been told that's what they need to do. However, you need all those other pieces first, because there's no point putting generic messages out there. You've seen how many people are out there sharing their coaching businesses. It's really important that you stand out from the crowd, and you can do that through your writing. Okay. So know your dreamies. Honestly, if you don't do that, you are wasting your time writing. And I mean that with kindness. I really do, because I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt where I was so generic. And anyone and everyone is out there being generic. We've also got the added thing now of artificial intelligence. So AI, for those kind of things, we can just go and plug in and get a whole blog post. So what's going to make you stand out from everybody else? It's writing in your authentic voice. So you want to be thinking, how can I share my content in my way, in my authentic voice? So you've seen here with me, my branding is very different. Most business coaches and mentors don't have a cartoon girl and all these bright colors. So my branding is my message. But equally, what I say, I talk as if I'm having a coffee with you, as if I'm telling you this over a conversation. So that's how I write. I don't all of a sudden say, oh, and by the way, we need to talk about, we must make sure we do all these different pieces of information on this blog template. And, you really do need to understand your ideal clients. I can't even do it because it's just not me. It needs to be more fun. So you can differentiate yourself through your writing voice. And that takes practice. And that's where blogging can help, because the more you do it, the better you get at it. So you may or may not already have a niche, but you may still have information on or ideas of where you want to go with your business or topics of interest. So start exploring those. If you really don't know where to start, play around with something. So let's say you're stress coaching. I've no idea why I always use that as an example. There's obviously a clue in there somewhere. But let's say you're a stress coach and you are starting to write something about stress. What do you know about it? And we'll come on to exactly how you can break that down. But have a focus, at least, if you haven't got a niche. Don't try and coach everyone. Not everyone with a pulse. Don't try and write for everyone. think about who your dreamies can be. So it really is about talking to that one person who fits your ideal client profile, in my case, dreamy client profile. What's your key message to them? What would they want to read? What would they want to know? What do they need to know? And what kind of things would they read? So you want your content to be exciting and enticing, that they want to read it and find out more about you, because that's the point of it. It's not just writing, or it can be, but I'm guessing you're all here because you want to get clients, and you absolutely can. But again, you need to stand out from the crowd. So talk to your dreamies and talk in your language the way you would normally do it. So I am very aware I talk fast, but then I found out today that we have 45 minutes, not the hour that I thought I had. So I'm going to be talking even a little bit faster. So I hope you can keep up with me. If I am going too fast, though, please just share in the chat box and I will slow things down. So where'd you get your blogging spark? Well, one of the biggest things is read widely. So Stephen King's got a quote. I'm going to have to look at it. Hold on. If you want to be a writer, you must do two things above all others: read a lot and write a lot. Okay. So you want to engage with your audience. Your audience, your tribe, are going to be the best people to tell you what works and what doesn't. So if you put a blog post out or a newsletter and you get lots of comments on it, positive comments on it, you are going to know that that is a really good topic of interest and that people are interested in finding out more. So for me, if I write a blog post on pricing, guaranteed my numbers go up, my comments go up. Same when I do a podcast, exactly the same thing. So I know the topics. I've started to get used to the topics that work and the topics that don't. Not that they don't work, but they don't work as well. Okay. So listen to the questions, listen to the feedback. So if people don't understand what you're saying, that's again a way that you can hone your writing skills. So really engage with your audience. And if people are commenting on your blog posts, negative or positive, if they're commenting, then that is a really good indicator that you're doing something. You're maybe being controversial, so you might get negative comments, but you are getting engagement, which is really good. Now, people are going to say to me, what about if you get negative comments? Okay, there's 3 easy things that you can do. This is my 3-step strategy that you can do. Number 1, ignore them. Okay, that's one option. Number 2, agree to disagree, because you might say, thank you, that's great feedback, but I actually really stand by what I've written. And number 3, you could say, thank you. Do you know what? You've actually brought something to my attention that I had not considered. I'm going to ponder on that or reflect on it. And who knows, I might write a blog post just for you in future episodes. Something along those lines. So 3 simple ways of answering people if they leave negative comments. Mostly they don't, to be honest. So it's very rare that you'll get a negative comment. I think I had one where I'd mentioned something about email marketing and I'd put the wrong person's name, and that's it, So stay curious. Think about what excites you, because if something excites you in your business, it's very likely to excite your dreamy clients. Because as we know, our dreamy clients are quite often a version of us, perhaps a few years ago, or a version of us in the past. So that excitement, that enthusiasm will start to shine through in your writing. So it will come across. People will pick up on that really lovely energy. The other thing you can do if you're getting stuck is change your routine. So go to a different place. For me, if I'm stuck with writing, I'll go and work in a cafe. I absolutely love the buzz around me. And also there's things going on and it's like, oh, that's interesting. That's a really interesting take on it. And think about, different ways that you can tell stories. So when you're out and about, and even at home, think about how you can turn something into a story. Play with it. Just practice at home. So for example, one day I was in my bathroom, cleaning the bathroom, and I saw a pot of my daughter's bubble bath, and it had this amazing description of, we're going to have this decadent bath, and you were going to be literally a goddess by the end of having this bubble bath. I thought that is such clever marketing, because if they'd just put pink bubble bath or something on it, you wouldn't buy it. But because they'd sold you an experience through that writing, it was a whole story about, you literally sound like you're going to have rose petals thrown at you as you entered this bath. And I think if you can start to create stories, just play, just think, oh, I wonder how I could turn that into a story for a blog post. So I'll give you an example. I was in our house, we have hot water bottles, but in our house, we call them Judies, or my mum did. So she's Irish. All my family, I'm from Ireland, would call them a Judy. So I was talking to a friend one day, or somebody, I can't remember, and I was speaking about a Judy, and she said, "What's a Judy?" And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I wrote an article about it, about how not to use jargon. Because if you don't write something that your dreamy clients understand, you're wasting your time. So I turned it into a blog post. I think the bubble bath one I did as well, and saying how clever you can be with your marketing when you get creative. So there'll be loads of different ways that you can get those sparks, but you have to think outside the box. And quite often that will happen when you're not thinking about writing a blog post. So step away. Our brain likes that. There's a name for it, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's where it's like a creative break for your brain. And we know that's when we have our best ideas, when we're in the shower, when we're doing all those things. So, you might just throw a question out to your brain and say, why do I find it so easy to come up with loads of ideas for my content? And then just let your brain do its magic. Another thing you can do is have an ideas journal. So write down loads of ideas as you go, and even things that you think might not be connected. There may be a story in it that's somewhere there for you. So just play. And as I say, just get creative. Just enjoy having fun with it. So 12 topics. Let me know if I'm going too fast. So what do I write? This is the biggest question that comes up. And this is, I think, my best answer. There's loads of other things that you can do, and I'll give you a list, but the 12 topics has been a game changer for so many of my clients. So what you do is, let's say we're stress coaching again. Okay. We'll go back to the stress coach. What do we know about stress? So let's go for some key headers. So it might be, why would people be stressed? Stressed in parenting, stressed in career, stressed in relationships, stressed in health, stress and sleep, for example. That's just off the top of my head. Okay. So that's 5 different topics. So you would do that for your business, but think of 12. Okay. So I haven't got the graphic here, but in the past, I literally would sit down in a cafe with Post-it notes and have 4 rows of 12, like 12 across, and then 4 Post-it notes under each. Okay. So once you've got your 12, let's pick one. So let's say stress and sleep. What could I write about stress and sleep? I'm not a stress coach, by the way, so I'm just literally making this up. So I could write about having a good bedtime routine. So stress, that might help. So that could be one thing I write about. I could write about turning off technology an hour before bed. I could write about doing stuff earlier in the day, so unwinding earlier in the day, or doing some exercise earlier in the day, etc. I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but you would basically break it down so each of your 12 topics has 4 things underneath it. So my 12 topics, if I was going to, I won't be able to list them all, the whole lot, but I can give you an idea. So I would have procrastination, a lot of mindsets. So 6 mindsets, 6 business. So it's niching, pricing, sales, marketing, content creation, and then it's not pricing, procrastination, overwhelm, confidence, all of those kind of things. So I would write down those headers, those 12 headers, and underneath them I would put those 4 different topics. You've now got nearly a year's worth of content headers for your business. 4 times 12, 48. Okay. And you're allowed a holiday, so you can take a couple of weeks off. I'll let you. So it's a really great way of breaking everything down, but it goes into so much across your business, not even just blogging. It goes into you then thinking, right, okay, well, actually that area, I know 11 of 12 really, really well, but that 12th one I'd like to learn more about, and I'd like to develop that skill. So it helps you build on that as well. So what else can you write? You could write book reviews. You could do vlogs. You could do case studies. Bear with me, Alexa's off. Sorry, I thought I turned Alexa off. So case studies, testimonials, you could do tutorials. I think I've given you some of these anyway, but personal stories. We love hearing personal stories. So bringing in a bit of fun into it, behind the scenes. It doesn't mean, when you're doing personal stories, by the way, it doesn't mean you have to give away your whole life story. It's just a really great thing to do in terms of building rapport with your audience and your tribe. And you could have inspirational writing. You could have random musings of something that you found quite interesting and you're not sure what. It might be the latest, something's come out, the latest neuroscience or something like that, and just start talking about that. Loads of different things that you could write about. Okay, so we're actually doing okay. I want to make sure we've got time for questions. So questions is going to be my 4:15. All right, so this idea of building blocks of content is a way of expanding the 12 topics. Sadly, I have to give my husband recognition for this because this first came from him as an idea and I kind of poo-pooed it. And then I went away and thought, maybe he's got an idea here. This could actually be developed. So I do give him credit. So let's say you have got a quote. So let's say it was the Stephen King quote, for example, right? You could extend that into a post. So you could say, this is Stephen King's quote. And then you could write about, I absolutely loved his book about such and such. Have any of you read it? So you've now got a Facebook post. Okay. Or you might tell a story about it. So you might say, let me think, I'm trying to think of something else that I might have written. You could say, I absolutely love reading. When I first started coaching, I was trying to decide what to read and I ended up doing loads of personal development books. What kind of books do you read? So again, you're going into a little bit more storytelling post. So it's a bit longer. So Facebook length post. You could then take that up to the next level and do tips. So let me think about visibility, for example. I might say, right, my one top tip for being visible in your business is blogging. Okay. It's not because there's so many different things, but I'm just saying it could be one. I could create a video about that one top tip. So I could say, these are 3 reasons why you should be doing blog posts. I could create a newsletter from that one tip, literally based on that one tip. I could have a newsletter and I could write a whole blog about that one tip and break that one tip down. Okay. Then each of those tips, so let's say I build them up to 7 tips. I've actually done this, 7 top tips for being visible in your business. It's somewhere on my website. You can have the blog. So you've got 7, you've had 1 tip, which has gone into depth, but then you could have 7 all in a row in one blog post, and you could create an infographic around it. So you could have all the different stats around why these things are really important, or you could have little pictures that relate to it, whatever you want to do. Those tips then could go into a workbook or they could go into a freebie. So all the time, what you're doing is basically moving the thing a bit bigger and a bit bigger. So when you've got one piece of content, think, how could I make this go further for me rather than having to write something else again? What can I do to stretch this content and make it work for me in better? So your 7 tips blog post could go into a workbook. So it's, you give them the tips and then you give them some action questions and some tasks to do in coaching style in the workbook. You might do a freebie PDF just of the 7 tips. If you love this, would you like the PDF of it? You might turn it into an email/video series. So that could turn into 7 blog posts and a series of them, each delving into each of the different tips. Or you could create a full-blown ebook. Then from that, you could go to mini workshops, training programs, online, offline. But the beauty of this model is you can also go backwards. So let's say you've run a mini workshop. You could say, oh, okay, so I've run a mini workshop. What could I take from that? Well, I wrote a really good workbook on how to be visible in business. Okay. So I could use that. I can share that. And actually, I've written some really good quotes in there. I might take one of my quotes and use it for Facebook. So you can go up and down and flex it as much as you want. But it really is a very powerful way of building your content. And you're just going up and up and up and then down and down and down and mixing it up. But it just helps you think differently about your content. So repurposing is something that we can get scared of. So if you've, let's say, written a blog post 6 months ago, there's no reason why you couldn't repurpose that blog post and do something different with it. So put a different twist on it. What this does is it saves time, and we know that time is money. So instead of rewriting 1,500 blog posts, you could think, okay, well, what else do I know about that topic that I could expand on? Or what are my thoughts about it now? Your opinion may have changed over the 6 months. So it saves you energy. You're reinforcing your message. And remember, you will have people come on your blog who haven't been on your blog before. You will get new subscribers or new followers that are, you know, the RSS feeds and etc. You don't need to keep creating. What you want to do is work your magic by making it stretch in different directions. I'm running a program at the moment for Zen Tangle teachers called Tanglepreneur, and it's all business coaching and mentoring. And I am using content from 6-7 years ago, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that content. It's exactly what I need it to be, even now. And I'm sharing it with a different group of people. Okay, so let's do the magical template and talk about what you need in that. So you want a catchy title. So there's a really good blog title checker called the Advanced Marketing Institute Headline Analyzer. I will put it in the chat box. And there are loads of other ones out there, but this one is particularly good. Headline Analyzer. I think it's a Z. That's why I'm pausing. And it's AMI. So that's the Advanced Marketing Institute. Okay. And what you do is you put your title in, and it will give you a score. So if you get 40%, your copywriting level, and if you get something else, your other levels. There are other ones out there now that are better. I don't know the names of them, but if you look into that, you'll start to see other ones that come up. Some of them will check your SEO, and they'll check other things for you. So they're really useful. What you need to do is you need to hook in readers. So if you imagine you go into a supermarket or a newsagent and you pick up a magazine, there'll be something that will have hooked you in. Same with newspapers. We want a hook. So you want to hook your readers in, and that's where you start to bring in your key topic, your introduction, if you like. So what would draw you in? If it was a magazine, it might be how to do this, or 7 top tips. Again, people love tips, people love how-tos, people love guides. Think Psychology's magazine, they do like the whole series of within the magazine. But you want to hook readers in. So you've got to think, why is it important for them to read this? And you want to get it early on in your blog post. The next thing you want to do is have a clear structure. So if you break it down into 3 sections, I do 3 bullet points. This is a starting point, and I can sometimes expand on them. Obviously, I've got 7 tips. It's going to be 7. But if you had, here's a really catchy title. This is what we're going to be talking about today, this fascinating topic from neuroscience, for example. And then we're going to say, well, no, let's go back to stress. So we'll have de-stress in 20 minutes. So in this article, I'm going to share how you can de-stress in 20 minutes. And then we'll break it down into 3 bullet points. So I'll give 3 different ways you can de-stress. So I'll say 1 is Zentangle, for example, right? So I then talk about that little topic, and you then bring in more compelling content underneath it. So if there's stats that you can share about it, or if there's interesting personal information that you could add to it, like why do you like it? What's important to you about it? Add in some of you, because that makes it rather like less AI and more you. That's going to really help you then as well. And it will make it more interesting because people will connect to you and they'll love what you do and they'll want to know more about you because you're writing as you. It really, the you part is so important. And then think about what actionable tips you can share. So if I was saying, you might be give them a little challenge at the end of it. So I always have a call to action, or I'll say action. I can't remember what the title is. If you ever look at Coaching Tools Company, I write loads for them. I can't remember what I call it. It's not call to action. I call it something else. But anyway, action. And then you say, Zentangle, go and buy yourself black pen, get black pen and paper out and go and draw this. Or you'll say, think about your sleep routine. Which one of these 3 tips would work for you, and then you write in what would work for them. Okay, so you're making it an actionable tip, and then you give the wrap up. So all the way through, what you're doing is what we do in training. It's tell. So in number 2, you're telling them what's coming. You've also told them kind of in the title as well. You're then telling them the 3 things. So bullet point 3 here, you're telling them the 3 things. And then by number 6, you're telling them what you've told them. So you're wrapping up. And again, bullet points in this section is really good. I'm not going to go into SEO. I am not an SEO expert. I'm the last person to talk about SEO, but I do know bullet points are really useful. So do your research on SEO. I am honestly super lazy when it comes to SEO. I just don't care. I know that sounds awful, but I just do not want to waste my life on trying to make it SEO related. I get my clients, I get enough clients, so I don't need to worry about it. I'm sure I could have millions more, but I don't have the time for that. So that's fine. But you make sure you do your SEO if SEO is really important to you. I'm just not that bothered. So call to action though, always at the end. What do you want them to do next? Okay. If you don't say what you want them to do, they will do nothing. So I had a video online of my little dog, and I would say to her, can you go and pick up the post? Right. And she would just sit and look at you. And then I'd say, post here. And as soon as I'd say that, she got the command and she would bring the post. So I took a video, and this is what I mean about storytelling. Okay. So I took a video and I said, and this is, guys, because obviously I work with coaches and teaching them how to do marketing. I said, if you want to if you want people to buy from you, you have to give them a command or order or thing to do. So if I just look at my dog and look at the envelope, she's just going to look at me like, you're crazy. I don't even know what you're talking about. If I say post here, straight away she'd come over and bring the post. And you need that. So your call to action could be things like, download my free 7 top tips, or download a PDF of this blog post so you can save it for reference. Or it might be, I've got a really exciting program coming up. If you want to get on find out more here. And if you want to get on the wait list, and give a little bit of blurb about that. The call to action might be, let me know in the comments what your top tip would be. So it might be asking them something else. They might come up with something different to what you've come up with, and that might create yet another blog post, more ideas for you. So that's, in a nutshell, what you can do in terms of keeping it very simple. It's very structured. And you want the headers, you'll have subheaders. So you start with your title, you'll then have, this is what we're going to do, and then you'll have subheaders, and then you'll wrap up and bring those headers back in again. And if you look how I write on the Coaching Tools Company, you'll see this in action. One of the things that they also request for Coaching Tools Company, because I write a lot for them I've written a lot for them over the years. They're a very, very good example of how to write well, because you have to check all your sentences aren't too long. You have to make sure that your paragraphs aren't too long. So I think it's 20 words in a sentence. I can't remember how many paragraphs. If you go and have a look at their editor guidelines, you'll learn loads, and go and have a look at loads of magazines guidelines, because they will help you also streamline your content. So some other tips are consistency. So I said to you at the beginning, how much are you willing to commit? So think about, do you want to do 1 blog post a week? Do you want to do 1 blog post a month? What's realistic? Because it's much better in terms of visibility to show up rather than do, I'm going to send out 4 blog posts now, and then they never hear from you again for 3 months. They're not going to remember you. You'd be much better to spread those 4 blog posts out over a few months, sorry. So 1 a month, 1 a month, 1 a month. Yeah. Share them everywhere. Treat them like a gift. Okay. So you are sharing your wisdom. So treat these like a gift. So what you can do is in your marketing, if you're doing a Facebook post, but PS, check out my blog post on X, or I'm really excited, I've just written this about whatever the thing is that you've written about. And know that you are then going to start shaping your content, but you'll also start streamlining down the people that are attracted to you, because the people who are reading it, and then they'll keep following you, and then it just snowballs from there. Obviously avoid jargon. I know we want rose petals and all of the things, or the Judy thing, the Judy, but people might not know what a Judy is. And sometimes it's uncomfortable asking, don't you think? Where was I the other day, and I had to ask what it was, and I felt really awkward, and I thought, I can't listen to this conversation until I know what that is. I don't know what they're talking about. It's driving me crazy. So ask, but make it that's for you personally, but in your blog posts, don't make it a thing that they need to ask. Okay. You will more than likely have international audience. So be aware of some of the idioms or phrases that you use that perhaps other countries don't understand. Yeah. But most of all, be you, because when you are you, you are awesome. When you show up as you, that's what's going to differentiate you from everybody else. It makes a huge difference. It really does. Keep your content fresh. So if you've written something, say, 2 years ago, and you think, actually, I'm not sure I have that opinion now, or maybe I've got different thoughts on it, you could write another blog post and say, I wrote this then, and now what I know is different. I've actually come a long way since then, and these are my thoughts around it. So you could link back to it. And you can also just keep yourself up to date with things that are going on. I'm not saying go and do, I don't watch the news. I have this thing that a bit like Tim Ferriss, I think that's where it came from actually, of I just trust that I will get whatever I'm meant to know about what's going on will be good. I get anxiety, so I'm not going to say I have anxiety. I get anxiety or anxious, and watching the news just makes me anxious. I just don't need to worry. For something really important, my husband tells me, or somebody else will give me that information. So I'm not saying that you have to be constantly watching the news and being on trend and all of those kind of things. This is about you having your voice and being maybe up to date in the industry of what's going on for you in your world and what's going on in your topic area. But it doesn't mean you have to always be topical with news if you don't want to. So it depends where you're at in your journey and what you like to do and what you like to read and stuff. So have it on when you're doing your blogs, share to your newsletter, share to a podcast, ask other people to share for you. Just say, would you share this for me? So allow some of those ideas. The other thing I would say to you is that's really helped me over the years is Pomodoro technique. So I don't know if any of you use it, but it's sitting down for 25 minutes. And even if you write nothing and just write, I know absolutely nothing about this topic. Don't worry, eventually something will come. Or just write 12 topics or one, like stress and parenting. What do I know about stress and parenting? And just let it out on paper, okay? Or computer, whichever way you're working. I do a combination. And also comment on other people's blogs, because when you comment on other people's blogs, and you can even set up like a blog buddy thing, other people can then share for you and you can share for them, and it becomes a two-way thing, which can be really interesting and nice and fun. It's always worth having some backup posts. I also repurpose newsletters as blog posts. It's a brilliant thing to do. I don't know why I didn't think of it until a few years ago. I've had hundreds and hundreds of newsletters go out and they've just wasted where I've moved over onto a new email system and that kind of thing. But if you write a newsletter today, you could turn that into a blog post that you share with new subscribers later, or who've signed up after that date, obviously, or you could share it 6 months down the line as a blog post, again, repurposing your content. So just think of loads of different ways that you can generate ideas and not have to work too hard. So what we've covered is why. I didn't do the review, but what I want you to do is think about what you're currently doing, how much time you want to commit to it. So I've alluded to it as we've been going through, how much time you want to commit. What do you already know? And what would you like to share with your people? Who are your dreamies? So do this review so that you understand where you're at on your blogging journey. And you may have done nothing, and that's absolutely okay. So just think, right, okay, is this for me? If it isn't for me, what other ways could I get visible? And if it is for me, what else can I learn about this? Because they're all skills that we can learn. These aren't things you just go, oh, brilliant, I'm a writer overnight. That you develop those skills and you get better and better the more you write. So we've gone through a blog post breakdown and I've shared a few bits of useful information. I think I'm actually 1 minute ahead. So has anybody got any questions? I don't know how to do that fast. I hope you all caught up with me.
Fantastic. You're exactly on time. Well done. Gosh, so much content, Ruby. And it's there was a lot of content there, but it all made super sense. And I was also a bit what you said about, why did you not think of it before? Some of the things I was a bit like, why did I not think of that before? So thank you for having taken time to really, state some of the maybe obvious to you, but certainly not obvious to all of us things. And I liked all the bit about having, the structure and the content and those 12 topics and the 4 post-its, but the whole thing is staying us, right? That's what's going to make us different.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to make us stick out. So I open the floor. I mean, there are not that many of us on live here. I mean, we don't have the Facebook live people. But if anybody wants to just unmute, don't be shy. This is great. Yes, Steve, go ahead.
Hi, Steve.
Yes, hi, Ruby. Really interesting. I've really enjoyed this. My question is around, because I'm quite old-fashioned, so my question is around how people access my blogs. So I have a blog section on my website, but it's probably 3 clicks away. And we know that people don't spend much time on a website. So I'm just wondering how we get the blogs out there.
Sure. So number one, make your blog visible. That would be my absolute first thing, because it's there. You're putting the work in to get the blog post out there, but you're not telling people how to do it. If it's tricky, they're not going to do it. If it's 3 clicks, then you've lost them. Then it's about where are you going to share it. So if you write newsletters, you could share it there. If you write social media posts, you could share it with that. If you're just going out to, say, networking meetings and you're not doing any of this online stuff, then when you're out networking, say, oh, I've written a really interesting article about this, I'll send it to you. If you want to give me your email address, I can send it to you. So you can do it that way. So there are loads of different ways that you can share. You could then, let's say, if you've written a post for your own blog, sorry, you moved then, that was very bizarre. Your screen just shifted, you were in a different place.
Oh.
So if you're say, you've written a blog for your own blog and say it's a year ago or something, reach out to publications and say, I've written this post. Would you be interested if I retweaked it? Or I've combined posts before. I've said, oh, I've got actually this, and this. If I took 1 tip from that, 1 tip from that, 1 tip from that, that makes a whole new blog post. And then you write something else about it. So I'd say it's about you sharing. You need to make it visible. And then you need to think, right, where am I going to share this? So where are you online? So it might be you share to your people on LinkedIn. So you take the link and you would share those links. And if you're offline, then it's about talking about it. And it's amazing how many people read it. Really awkward. I was in a cafe once and this lady came up to me, it was local. And she said, oh, you're Ruby McGuire, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. Should I read your blog? I've been reading your blog for years and it's just so uncomfortable, honestly. I'm an introvert. I'm fine standing in front of a room for people. That was really uncomfortable. I went, oh, 1 person reads it, go me. But it's down to you, and it will only be 1 person reading it unless you share it. So you have to take the responsibility, I'm afraid, and share it and get it visible on your blog, on your website. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Ruby. Anyone else? Any form of question, really any. This is our chance to ask straight away, straight to Ruby. Eva.
Hi, Ruby, and hi, Julie. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this webinar, Ruby. I have 1 question, and this is like how to turn my readers into clients.
Okay, so that again is that bit.
We would have any tips, of course.
Yeah. So the call to action. So number 1, I would say educate them. So the more that you can educate them that they need your help, the better. So, for example, when I'm writing something in my business, I'm thinking, right, okay, all the time I'm thinking, what's the next step? What's the next thing that I want them to take, the next step? And that might be saying, I might literally put something like, and you might want to get some coaching help with that, waving. Oh, literally, I'm waving at you, here's my link. So it's about you being brave in your writing to just say, I mean, at the end of the day, you're just offering, it's an invitation. And this is where it starts to turn into more selling rather than blogging, but you're still inviting people to maybe come and have a discovery call with you. In the early days, I would have so many discovery calls with people, and that got me loads of clients. I just said, if you're interested in exploring this further or finding out if we might be a good fit, I'm offering a 20-minute discovery call. Or a 20-minute connection call or whatever you want to call it. And then you get them on that call. What I would say to you with my mentoring hat on is that practice your sales conversations. I had to practice my sales conversations for about 1.5 years with a friend because I wasn't very good at it. I was good at a lot of areas of business, but I was not very good at that. But it's a skill, and these are all skills that you can develop. So it was a case of practicing literally with a friend, and I would say, this is what I'm selling. She'd say, that is terrible. I would not buy that from you. That is absolutely awful selling. And now I add in whatever I put for anybody, whatever I'm offering, whether I'm offering high-end clients, whether I'm offering lower-end clients, I'll always put, this is, I thought this might be of interest to you. And then I put, whatever you decide, comma, enjoy the rest of your week, or enjoy the rest of your day, or check out my blog posts, something along those lines. So there's no pressure. It's very much an invitation. And you can do inviting in your blog post. The call to action might be, I'd like to invite you onto a call with me to discuss whether we'd be a good fit. Or having read my blog post, you might feel that you really need some coaching support. Click here to book a discovery call with me. Okay, so it's not, you don't have to go on that call and say, oh, you've got to buy my stuff, buy my stuff. You don't have to do that, because if you're the right fit and you're sharing what's important and what you're good at, and you know that your program is a good fit or your services are a good fit, the conversation will be easier. I'm not saying it's easy, because you do need to practice sales. You need to learn how to sell. And that may already be in your remit. I'm just saying generically for everybody.
Great. No, thank you. That was very useful. Exactly what I needed. Thank you.
Welcome. I'm just going to put my slide up if that's okay.
Anyone else? Anybody else have a question around blogs? I mean, I know we called it Supercharge your blog. Can we overcharge our blog?
As in do too much writing?
Yeah.
I think people unfollow you. So it depends. You know, you might have people who, like, for instance, I do my Zentangle. I've got one lady, she does a video every day, only like a drawing video. I wouldn't watch a talking video. She does a drawing video every day, and every day I will go and check it because I love it. I love her stuff. I can't wait to see the next one. And we kind of all want that with our writing. But I think it will depend on your audience. You will have other people like, oh my goodness, she's posting again. I'm sick to death of having this in my inbox. But they still have the choice to either go with the RSS, or they have the choice to unsubscribe if it's your newsletter, or unfollow you if it's on one of the social media platforms. So it's what works for you. I think over time, what happens is we can get very excitable about writing and doing all these things, but it is keeping it up. And I think that's the important thing. You've got to remember, how much can I really commit to? And that's why I say to you, I don't want to do SEO, and I'm not doing it. And I'm okay with that. I made that business decision. I don't want to spend my time doing that. I'm very much about slow living and intentional living. And that is not something I want to waste my life on. But there'll be other people that you talk to who say, absolutely, you must get the SEO right. And they are probably right.
Right.
But you've got to think, I think in going back to the content, it's, you know, do what you want to do, but remember, you need to keep it up.
Right. So it's more consistency over you know, how much you're actually doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyone else? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ruby. Sorry.
All right. I was just going to say, it's very similar to like your online platforms. Like LinkedIn is a bit slower. So if you were putting a blog post on LinkedIn, you might not do as many. You might use the LinkedIn blog feature, and you wouldn't necessarily be doing one a day because it's a much slower pace. But if you were on maybe Facebook, where the feed is a lot quicker, you could perhaps do a couple a week or 3 a week or whatever, because it's not going to be in people's faces. But equally, that's a very good excuse from a lot of people, not necessarily saying that's you, but a lot of people will say, oh, I can't do it. I'm disturbing people. It's like, no, you're not. You are offering, you're helping, because ultimately what you have at the end of it is a service that's going to support somebody to improve their life. So
True. And I guess for those of us who share it on social media, somebody was saying to me the other day that only 10% of what we post is seen by one person, as in, so basically that does mean that you can post. It doesn't mean that they're like, oh my gosh, Julie, you know, go and lie down or something instead of spurting out all of this stuff all the time. Yeah. Okay.
One other thing on that as well, the beauty of having it on your website is if Facebook crashes or all of these other things crash, you've got all of your content in one place, so they can scroll through your blog. And it's almost like they've got a book there pretty much, where they can scroll through all of that content without being bombarded by everybody else. So actually, another reason we should all go old school.
It's true though. Yeah, and it's a library and it stays there, and people who are checking out your services, they get an idea of what you talk about, what you have talked about. I very much believe that too. Since nobody else is asking anything, I do have one more. Now, what about those people amongst us who are multi-passionate, who may have one brand, but under that brand, there are, let's say, well, mine has 3 main strands. Now, is it best to just choose one of those to blog for the sake of not seeming scattered? Or do you say as long as you attach them in some way, it's okay?
I would say where you can have an umbrella, and I'm a prime example of this at the moment. So I've got my Ruby Two-Shoe design, which is about my Zentangle, because it doesn't really fit on my business website in the same way as everything else on there. And I've got my other one of rubymcguire.com. Now, depending where I'm spending my time, what I'm focusing on. At the moment, I'm focusing completely on Zentangle. My life is chaotic behind the scenes, and that's what I'm doing at the moment, and just keeping a handful of my one-to-one clients. But I would say if you've got 3 or 4 different passions, think of what your umbrella could be. Okay. So actually I'm training, even though I've got my Ruby Two-Shoes design, I have actually got a business program on there for Zentangle teachers. So it is still relevant.
Right.
But overall, you need to think of what your umbrella is. So I'm sharing today doing Zentangle, but on my business website, I have got a de-stress page for corporations for Zentangle. So there's a page on it that they can find. So normally I would say have an umbrella. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. And like this, for mine, it doesn't quite work. I haven't found the umbrella. The link could be stress potentially, or mindfulness or whatever. But then that doesn't link with business coaching. So at the moment, the link is Zentangle. So.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's I like that. It's a nice answer. Thank you. That's all that I wanted. I'm fed up with people saying to me, "Just what, Julie?" So there we are. But then it fits because I have my fabulous after 50, and I have my you deserve to be heard, to be healthy, to be financially free. So it is all under one umbrella. So thank you for that. Does anybody else have one last question that they would like to ask? I mean, I encourage all of us to go anyway and follow you, Ruby, and look at what you're doing. I'm certainly very intrigued about this Zentangle business, which I don't have a clue what it is, but it sounds very interesting.
Drawing.
So I will.
It's mindful drawing. So you basically draw with structured patterns. So anyone can do this. Literally anyone can do this. It looks arty, but it's just loads of little patterns that you piece together, and it really calms your mind. So because of everything going on in life, this has been my absolute saving, because as soon as I get my pen out and piece of paper, my mind just goes so calm. And helps with ADHD. It helps with, people who've got partners or family members that are going through really tough situations, bereavement, all of these kind of things. People who've got a lot of pain. It's a really lovely thing to do to calm the mind and just get out of your head for a couple of hours.
Love it. It's like a safe space in order to sort of download everything, I guess.
But if you go onto ICW, there is still a workshop, I think. I don't know if you can run a masterclass at the opening of ICW.
Well, I shall certainly do that. Ruby, thank you. Thank you very much for being you, for sharing all of this and making it seem so. I mean, you're not saying it's easy. You have to do it. I do like that, the consistency over, quantity, let's say. But there's some very, very useful tips. I've scribbled extensively here. I like the structure. I like the whole way that we can take something good and then use it in various ways, and even repurpose things from the past with a new twist. So I think that's all very efficient, as you say, in our busy lives, thing to do. So thank you very much. Thank you to the rest of you who made time to be here today in order to grow and to get your content out there, because that's what it's about, right? What the blog is there so that we become visible and you do get more clients. So from that point of view as well, I think bringing them back to our website where they also see what we actually do is probably a very smart idea. So my suggestion to you all now is, before you get happed up by busy life, take your CBD pads out and write down clearly what you have learned from this and what you are going to implement. So it's not just another thing that you've heard, but something that you're going to do, which will bring your business forward. I also wanted to mention that we also have the Two Sides of the Coin podcast that I didn't know much about before International Coaching Week. So I have decided to promote it each time. Lots of tools and tips for us out there as well. So that's also something to look into. Wishing you a wonderful week, month, etc. And till I see you next time. All the best, everyone. Ruby, thank you very much. You're fabulous. And a queen.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.